The school bus doesn't stop at the house anymore. There's an empty place at their table. Your young, bright future lay ahead, which should have been loving, strong and stable. Can you hear it all, the silence? He's gone now, he's not there. A missing child was mysteriously taken. The neighbors are filled with fear. Can you hear it all, the silence? He's gone now, he's not there. A missing child was stolen. Neighbors filled with fear. Evil moved in and the peace was shattered. They ruled by fear like nothing else mattered. They are stuck in a cycle, silent and gray. The neighbors can't speak until they move away. They can't speak out until they move away. Their beautiful homes are now a freak show. Cherished privacy, a thing of the past. Monsters moved in, are their children safe? How long will this nightmare last? Call 911, how can we help you? What is your address? If it's Kellen or Stafford, why was no help coming? The law caused them untold stress. Can you hear it all, the silence? He's gone now, he's not there. A missing child was mysteriously taken. The neighbors are filled with fear. Can you hear it all, the silence? He's gone now, he's not there. A missing child was stolen. Neighbors filled with fear. We feel invisible to the sheriff. Sumner County, can you see? Why did you turn your back on us? We're the innocent ones, you and me. You serve and protect for all but us. Sheriff, why is this? Is it because we know more than you'd like us to know? Sheriff, you are taking the pitch. We don't see heartbreak, desperation or fear. They lost a child, but nothing is clear. Strangers come searching for your lost son. Did your life really come undone? The ears of the world wait in hope for the sheriff to speak this child's name. The silence from him is deafening. One has to ask if he's sane.
Welcome in, everyone. Thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me this evening. Yeah, that song is a little haunting, isn't it? Credit to Seashore Annie, who made that for our channel. And the silence is real, isn't it, my friends? Well, we are here today, and we are going to ask ourselves why the silence. And in my opinion, it all goes back to the Child Protective Investigative Team decision to close the case. And we're going to go through it step by step, put in a little timeline, and we're going to really talk about who do a lot of the decisions that have been made, who do they benefit, who do they protect, and who has the power to make those decisions. And it's very telling when we go through it that way, because the same entities and individuals keep popping up. So welcome in. We are here tonight for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, reported on February 26th of 2024 to be missing. His mother claiming he walked out of the house on his own and had not returned, in bare feet, no coat, no phone, no money. Took absolutely nothing with him, no food, no medication, absolutely nothing. He had never done that before. And that's another interesting point I'm going to bring up today in our show. He was 17 at the time and would be 15 at the time, and would be 17 now. Sebastian was from Sumner County, living with his stepfather and mother. However, they have chosen, and a lot of this is we're bringing in with the facts, what we've noticed, what we've seen, what they've said, and some of our opinions and speculations, allegedly. He lived with his stepfather and mother, who have not searched for him, who have moved away from the very home that he would come back to, who have gone on panels, in my opinion, and made jokes and inconsistencies, not been helpful by saying things like, oh yeah, about then, right around there, instead of being specific and helping to find Sebastian, in my opinion. Not wanting to give details, trying to be funny, being silent right along with Sumner County at times. It's been an absolute travesty to the young man. Sebastian has a love for animals, the color green. He enjoys dancing and fishing with his father. He feels very safe at his father's apartment, which is why it is very unfortunate his father, Seth Rogers, was not notified, because if they had indeed notified Seth, he could have had custody of Sebastian physically at his home, and Sebastian would be with us today, in my opinion. Please hit that thumbs up and subscribe. We've got a whole lineup of shows coming up regarding Sebastian Rogers. So much has been going on. Don't miss it. If you hit subscribe, it's free. It helps me out. It helps the channel out. And if you'd be willing to share, like, hype the video, it would be a great help to the channel. So boom, the Child Protective Investigative Team. In my opinion, it all leads back to this, and we're going to go through why. Hello, Cinderella, Frank, Show Poodles, YouTuber, Doodle Mom, Melanie Jones. Thank you all for being here. SI Officer and Cinderella and Tam. Thank you. Becky, hello. Briggy, hello. Titch. Frank, always good to see you. And everyone else, Doodle Mom, Wanda Dupree, great to see you as well. Heather Marie, everyone who's in here, if I haven't said your name, please know that I appreciate you so much in the fact that you have chosen, hi Jasper, to spend this time with me. Hello, Rusty Pipes. Hello, Elaine. Hi, Star Child. Just know how much I appreciate that you have chosen to spend this time with me, and greetings to Alabama and Georgia who are in the house tonight. And if you want to put in the chat where you're from, we all enjoy seeing that. Thank you so much. Well, let's go ahead and get to it. On the thumbnail, to the far left is Ray Whitley. That's important because Ray Whitley was the longest standing district attorney. Louisiana, welcome in. Longest standing district attorney, and I want to say, I'm not sure, Sumner County or Tennessee. So I'm just going to say, because he was there for over 40 years as the DA of Sumner County. Had not mentioned retiring. Was a part of the Child Protective Investigative Team that looked at the DCS case against CP regarding Sebastian. He was on that team. Ironically, suddenly, shockingly, he gave his resignation and beat it out of office in less than 2 weeks. After 40 years, got out of there. Was it getting too hot in the kitchen? This case not going away? people a little worried that decision's going to track back to them and they're going to be liable and have to show the documentation, the process they got there to explain why they thought Sebastian was still safe and left him in the home, and then 9 months later he went missing? Perhaps. Hi, Minnie. Thank you so much. Scotland, welcome in, Fraggle Rock. And I see Eastern Shore, Maryland, London, UK, welcome in. Let's see what else we got. New Mexico, welcome. Missouri, Sevier County, Tennessee. Be safe out there. Louisiana. Love seeing where you're all from. So then we also on the far right have the sheriff of Sumner County, Eric Craddock, who has chosen to be silent, not follow up on tips, be disrespectful and downright rude to Seth Rogers, the father, the only parent looking for his son, continually says there is no foul play when he clearly knows, and we now know he knows, that CP has a historical record through DSF of mistreating Sebastian. But yet he continues to say foul play, never brought him in, never detained him, never mentioned him as a person of interest, never told the public. And you know how we see cases like little Emmanuel, they came out and told us that the boyfriend there was a history of the boyfriend mistreating Emmanuel. We've heard the little boy from Wisconsin, I can't remember his name, also the history of the boyfriend mistreating him. And they tell you that information and they bring him in, they put him behind bars till they get all this figured out, because that's a charge they can get him in on, right? Didn't happen. No. As a matter of fact, according to the biological father, Seth Rogers, they did not even separate the stepfather, the mother, and Seth Rogers when interviewing them. So we have a whole lot to talk about. I think some people got real nervous when he went missing. I hope they have the documentation to back up that decision, because a child's life is at stake. And if they do not have the documentation to back up that decision, I hope each and every one of them find charges against them who made those decisions. One thing Tennessee has yet to understand is that a child's life is important. They have teachers doing things to their students. They have county commissioners doing things to kids under 13 years old. They have a Gallatin police officer from Sumner County who, when they did a child teeing sting, was who they arrested at the hotel. They got problems. A lot of problems. And when you can't investigate for a child, it makes us wonder why. We've wondered why. And my friends, tonight I'm going to show you why I think this is going on, and that it all leads back to the Child Protective Investigative Team decision, where they closed the case 9 months prior to Sebastian Rogers going missing and said no concerns, no services needed. He was 14 at the time, and 9 months later he disappeared. So these are two of the gentlemen. The DA's office is on that team. Sumner County Sheriff's Office is on that team, along with DSF, along with CAC, a Child Advocacy Center. And they get together and they make these decisions. Hold on one second. I am reading a comment from Tam. Today I was watching a fight between ET and BHB. ET slipped and said when Sebastian died, came up missing. Oh my. Will you send me that link to crimetimebuzz@gmail.com if you would? And if you have a timestamp, even better. Welcome in, everyone. We are going to, I would love to see that. That's a Freudian slip, and it usually means something, right? I think this case is heating up. I think some people are very nervous. And I think, for sure, CP's nervous. And I think Mr. Craddock, in my opinion, is probably very, very nervous. It was a horrible video, Jasper. Will someone send me that link to crimetimebuzz@gmail.com? And if you have a timestamp, I would love it. Hello, Battle Axe. So good to have you here. Thank you for letting us know. Welcome back in. Okay, so we are going to get going, and I'm going to propose a theory. Now, I know you all are critical thinkers as well. You don't have to agree with me. I don't want you to agree with me just because it's me. But what I do want you to do is to critically think about this the way you all do. You're amazing. And if you are in the bushes, I'm going to answer a couple of questions that came up, statements, and then we'll get started. Frank it up says, Jay, that was said to Seth when he went on Truce Live. Do you have a timestamp, Frank, that you can send me in a link? Okay, thank you all. It's a 7-hour fight. Oh my goodness. I have asked, Showpoodle says, I have asked this already, but is Ellie kicked in ET's door to have a talk? I am thinking probably not. Why not? In my opinion only. Well, how about this one? How about the YouTubers who got into a fight when they were out at lunch with KP in Tennessee and were blaming each other for allegedly recording KP saying the last time she saw Sebastian's godmother was before he was schmurdered. Did they ever follow up on that? Probably not. And I'm about to show you why I think not. Thank you, Doodle Mom. Seth Rogers filed a lawsuit against Department of Child Services in Tennessee and Sumner County Sheriff's Office, Eric Craddock and Brandon Carter. In that lawsuit, revealed that a Child Protective Investigative Team was put together to analyze, investigate, and make decisions regarding the the A to Sebastian Rogers. We didn't know that. And it was important because that team consists of Sumner County Sheriff's Office, the District Attorney's Office, Department of Child Services, Children and Family, what is it in Tennessee again? DCS, Department of Child Services, local law enforcement, and a child advocacy center. Child advocacy center is where they take a child and they are trained professionally on how to interview a child. And so that's where law enforcement takes a child who is going through something or who they have to interview regarding a crime, because they are trained professionally how to deal with children specifically. They all failed him. You darn right, SI officer. And I'm telling you why, in my opinion. So also the juvenile court there's also sometimes a juvenile court representative and medical or mental health professionals. Now, Sumner County Sheriff's Office side of the core investigation, the primary leadership and detective figures named for this case are Brandon Carter, lead detective, and Sheriff Eric Craddock. So, in my opinion, when we're referring to Sumner County, that's who we're referring to, but we don't know exactly which one sat on this team. But we do know Craddock would know because he's the paper pusher and these things come across his desk. He's not a police guy. He's not out on the streets. He's not a tough crime guy. No. He's a paper pusher. So the papers of the alleged A would have been coming across his desk, whether he was on that team or not. So in a standard Tennessee Child Protective Investigative Team, I'm going to call it CPIT from now on, framework, the team includes a representative from the Department of Children's Services, local law enforcement, DA's office, and a child advocacy center, sometimes also juvenile court representatives and medical or mental health professionals. And pay very close attention to who's on this team. Could this be why Sumner County Sheriff's Office didn't want help? Sumner County Sheriff's Office has been rude to Seth from the beginning. Sumner County Sheriff's Office has ignored the case. Sumner County Sheriff's Office possibly, is that true? Because maybe they didn't want the CPIT decision uncovered? Think about it. This child was deemed in a very dangerous environment with his stepfather, allegedly, according to the papers. I have not myself seen the CPS papers, so that's why I'm saying allegedly. Other things were said that DCS recorded about the stepfather and his behavior to Sebastian, including corporal punishment, humiliation, demeaning behavior. They chose to close the case. No services needed, no concern. They never called the biological father to tell him this was going on. When Sebastian said the only place he feels safe is his dad's, they never called the dad, so there could be an alternate placement where Sebastian would be safe. And in my opinion, and I believe Seth's opinion, I've heard him say it on his lives, if they had, he believes Sebastian would be alive and okay right now and with him and away from the monster who was hurting him. So is that why we have a shoddy investigation? Is that why they don't want to investigate? Is that why they don't want to dig deep? Is that why Craddock looked so scared in that interview with Barris? Is it because they made a decision they can't back and now a child is missing? Should they be held responsible for Sebastian's disappearance? Possibly, in my opinion. And it also shows the bias against Seth from the absolute get-go. Because all when this was going on, the CPIT team and the investigations, they never contacted Seth Rogers, the biological father whom Sebastian said he felt safe with. And 9 months later, when they arrived to the missing report of Sebastian Rogers, and Seth Rogers showed up shortly after, for 8 days they were all around each other out there during that search, and not one of them, not one, told him about the prior A to Sebastian by CP. And in my opinion, that was intentional, obviously. Because if you would arrive at a house and you didn't have a conflict of interest or a bias or an alliance, in my opinion, and a child was missing and you recognize the address from the house and the family because you've been there, because you're on the CPIT team, the investigative team, you've seen the papers come across your desk, you're going to say to the biological father, hey, come on over here. I'm going to talk to you. We're going to take the stepfather in for questioning because we do have him on record as blah, blah, blah. But they had never contacted Seth, so maybe they were covering their tush for that too. But they definitely have showed bias against Seth Rogers by intentionally hiding this from him, keeping secrets with CP and KP, and keeping an alliance with CP and KP. Hi, me and you. You were on my list to email today, and I'm so sorry. I will definitely get to you, my friend. Oddball, hello. That's what I want to know. Why is he not in jail for child abuse? And we're going to get there because they closed the case, didn't bring charges, never told the biological father and even 9 months later failed to tell the biological father, Seth Rogers, who was around them for 8 days searching for Sebastian. That's intentional, that's bias, that's conflict of interest, and that is forming an alliance with possible suspects, right? And I think that may be why they want this investigation to go away. I think it all leads back to the Child Protective Investigative Team CPIT decision, and I'll show you why. Please hit that subscribe if you haven't. It's free. Hit the thumbs up if you would. The CPIT team in Sumner County, Tennessee, a Child Protective Investigative Team, CPIT, which includes DCS, local law enforcement, district attorney's office, must be convened immediately, and no later than 24 hours after receiving a report involving severe child A neglect or child SA. A lot we can pull from that right there. We know that the CPIT team is brought in for severe. Hi, Let Them 66. Hi, Peace Love. We know the CPIT team is brought in for severe A neglect or child SA. Not minor. Not, oh, it happened a little bit. Nope. It's okay. It was just a tap. Nope. Severe. That is when that team is formed. Right there. Oh, Minnie, thank you for the 10 jewels. Happy poop. You're so cute. Thank you so much. Like I told you guys, I'm really trying to sub less and tutor less and spend more time with you. And every jewel, everything helps. Thank you so much. And Let Them 66. Thank you for your 21 months of support to the channel, being a member. Okay, Minnie, at the end of this, would you send me, put it on here? Would you put it on here in the messages at the end for me to mention members only? Because I'm going to tell you guys kind of what I was thinking we're going to do from here on out. Hi, Wild Child. Minnie, thank you. Thank you for your hard work and time. Matcha raised me. Thank you for the $2, Minnie. Minnie just set a challenge. Minnie's challenge. Matcha Razor, $2. Thank you, Minnie. Okay. So, severe. So if you hear people minimizing his A against Sebastian, speak up. Because like I told you yesterday, I heard a creator who's overseas, she knows who she is, going, oh, it was just a little tap on the stomach. Everyone's making a big deal. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what she said. Well, Ignatz. Sorry, you're getting snarky J right now. If you would stop to consider the fact that the CPIT team, and she was reading the lawsuits, by the way, where it's talking about the CPIT team, is convened for severe child A neglect or child SA. If you had read those words, you would understand how ridiculously ignorant that statement was. But we will continue on. So this team was convened for Sebastian Rogers regarding the A from CP, his stepfather, on Stafford Court. And it's important that I say, you like Snarky J? Well, I'll throw some out there periodically for you. I was on one yesterday about CP, wasn't I? Thank you, Doodle Mom. Thank you so much, Frank and Doodle Mom. So think about that. Sebastian Rogers at 14 years old, the CPIT team convened to investigate his well-being, his safety, and the stepfather. Oh, YouTuber matched you, Minnie. Thank you, YouTuber. I appreciate you. You guys are so fun. I love to watch it when you do this. Seth Rogers was never notified. You all are so sweet. Thanks so much. Seth Rogers was never notified that there were allegations against the stepfather, 4A, to Sebastian, that a team was gathered, that there was severe A going on in the home. None of it. Oh, let them matched as well. Thank you. Let them's in the game. Thank you so much for being so generous, all of you. That is so sweet. I truly appreciate it. Honestly. Thank you for the $2. Seth was never notified. So we're going to talk about that. Who did it benefit? When there's a crime, what do detectives always ask? Who benefits? So we're going to do that tonight. Who benefits, who's being protected, and who has the power to do it. And you're going to see the common denominators come before you. Do you need to agree with me? Hi, Joanne. Absolutely not. Hi, Melanie. Hi, Joanne, Melanie, Lolo. Absolutely not. You don't have to agree with me. And I would love for you to share like your different insights, like Jay, this, that. Yesterday, someone shared something with me and I had never looked at it in that perspective. You know, they said maybe it was KP who was following the money. You know, her lifestyle. Look what she came from, right? It was a really good insight. I just hadn't really thought about it that way. So the teams convened for Sebastian Rogers in 2023. Well, we know they're in action in 2023. And it's about Sebastian Rogers, an incident that occurred in Stafford Court regarding against CP to Sebastian, and the biological father is never notified. So I say, who benefited from that? Let's talk about it. Who benefited from not notifying Seth Rogers? Well, in my opinion, CP, because he would have pressed charges. Who was being protected by not notifying Seth Rogers? Not Sebastian. CP. Who had the power to make that decision not to notify the stepfather? The CPIT team. And who's on there? Sumner County, the DA's office, the Child Advocacy Center, and DCS. We're going to continue, and I'm going to show you some connections I have found. Okay. The CPIT team coordinates their response to, and remember, they have 24 hours after a report to convene. Did they do that within 24 hours for Sebastian? Well, that will come out now because Seth Rogers has a lawsuit against CPS and Sumner County. CPS asking them to reopen the case and investigate, which means who will they be investigating? The perp, stepfather. Okay. So in that lawsuit, he's asking for a jury trial. And I would have to believe that if it goes to trial, they are going to be asked for their documentation to ensure that they had convened 24 hours after the report of severe child A. And probably have to explain why at that point they never chose to notify the biological father when the child said he had a safe place. The CPIT team coordinates their response to jointly investigate, prevent further harm, and share critical case information. Well, I think it's obvious they did not prevent further harm. The child is missing and has not been seen. They failed. The team is triggered immediately upon receiving severe A or SA intakes, meaning at least 2 core agencies are notified to launch a synchronized response. Well, did they do that? We know it goes to law enforcement. Did they do that? Did the team do that? Did they have 2 people launching a synchronized urgent response? Multidisciplinary staffing, the CPIT team. These are their requirements I'm reading you. The members hold review meetings called staffings to share details, coordinate tasks, prevent the child from having to recount trauma repeatedly. Did they have those meetings? Did they follow the process with integrity? I sure hope so. Because when it gets to trial, their documentation better be in place. And let me tell you, if there's one agency on the CPIT team who's doing things they shouldn't do, I'm sure the other members who are on it are going to save their reputation and point the finger when this all comes out. History and records review. The team cross-references past DCS history, which means that if there was calls to Remington Avenue, which we'll get to in a little bit in the slideshow, that would come up, as well as the California. External databases and local law enforcement records for all involved parties. So if they went through local law enforcement records for all involved parties, that means they would have had CP and KP's records, Sebastian's records. Now, what I find interesting is, surely they didn't pull Seth Rogers' records, right? They didn't even bother to tell him this was going on. Did they do this? Or is this stuff the reason why they won't investigate? Why they want it to go away? Why they've silenced Sebastian? Why they won't give updates to the public about his status? Because they don't want a deep investigation going into the CPIT team, because they don't have documentation into justifying their decision about a child who went missing 9 months later. Could that be? That's what I'm thinking, my friends. And that is the why of this shoddy, horrid investigation for their only missing child in their county. Seth Rogers has recently filed a lawsuit back in July. DCS records state he is, I'm sorry, y'all. He is suing DCS of Tennessee DCS. Their records state Sebastian's home life was marked by physical A, emotional degradation, and neighbors reporting CP hated the child and wanted the child to be unalive. That's a lot, right? That's in the records. That's what DCS wrote before the team decided to close the case. Seth is asking the case be reopened. He's asking for a jury trial, and he's asking for millions of dollars, and I hope he gets it, because the more Tennessee has to pay out for this, hopefully, the more some high-up officials will start looking at the peons down below not doing their jobs, in my opinion. Okay. How y'all doing? The lawsuit states 9 months before Sebastian went missing, the CPIT team made an administrative decision to close the case without services, and still had not contacted Seth Rogers, the biological father. So they didn't make the decision and put Sebastian in the safe place he told them he had. They made the decision and left him in the environment they deemed dangerous and demeaning and degrading, involving corporal punishment. Stated DCS visited twice and reported. Says DCS then visited twice and reported no services needed, no concerns, despite the report that Sebastian was living in a dangerous and A environment. They knew he was in danger and thoroughly documented that he was in danger in the way he was being treated. And they chose to leave him there. My friends, I ask you, is that why they don't want people digging? Is that why they don't want people helping with the investigation? Because this will be uncovered? Is that why they won't give updates? They want it to go away? Is there bias with the stepfather? Something they don't want to come out? Is there a bias against Seth because they're aligned with the stepfather in this whole CPIT team being closed when he clearly should have been investigated? I think so. That's why they want it to go away, because it's not just about February 26th. It starts 9 months prior, at least. And that's why they didn't want this to be made bigger, any bigger than it was, in my opinion. That's why CP was so scared and kept saying, if you make this any bigger than it is, and threatening the biological father, Seth Rogers. Because he knew darn well that he had been under investigation, that Seth didn't know it, that it was so serious the CPIT team was put together, and that's only severe, and he was possibly facing charges, prison time. Wait till you see what Tennessee's prison time is for this. Prison time, and losing any chance of custody of the daughter he was trying to get custody of. Is that the why, my friends? I think so. It goes far, it's much earlier than the disappearance day, in my opinion. Yes, Serena. Hello. Hi, Brandy. A mom who doesn't look knows exactly where they're at. Absolutely. Hi, Sharon. I can't understand the people backing Craddock. Why? Let me put the comment up there. I can't understand the people backing Craddock. Why would you back someone whose nickname is Snuggle Struggles? How many are involved? Well, we're going to go through it, and I'd love for you guys to hear or tell me in the comments how many you think are involved. I'm just doing this for you. So I think it all goes back to 9 months before and a decision that was made. Not a smart decision, in my opinion, not one they could justify, in my opinion, because their job was to protect Sebastian from future harm, and they did not. And in my opinion, they are liable. They know it, and they want it to go away and stop getting bigger. And that's why CP was wetting his pants over it, because he knew that it wasn't just about a disappearance. He knew what he had done. He knew he was the object of an investigation. He knew the child was afraid of him. And they never contacted Seth, even though Sebastian did say he felt safe with his dad. So there's the CP team. And we're going to start going through common denominators and exactly what it all boiled down to. I'm just working my way for you guys. So again, here's the team: Sumner County, DA's office, DCS, and CAC, the Child Advocacy Center, and possibly these. But those are not mentioned in the lawsuit, so I'm assuming they were not involved. So what they are supposed to be doing prior to making a decision, such as closing a case, no services necessary, no concern, is conducting coordinated interviews with the child victim, non-offending caregivers, well, that would be Seth, other household members, that would be KP, and the alleged perpetrator, that would be CP. For SA or severe physical A, specialized forensic interviews are often utilized. And he's under the severe. Corroborating evidence, collecting and reviewing relevant medical reports, psychological evaluations, drug screenings, and school or mental health assessments. Did they do that? And I know many people in a normal case would say, well, Jay, of course they went to the schools and got everything they needed to get. But must I remind those who are thinking that, maybe you're new to the case, they didn't even go back to Texas Roadhouse to pick up the footage where the child was last seen. They didn't return their phone calls. They didn't go to Warsham's, which was in their search radius where all the high schoolers go in the morning for biscuits. So find it really hard to believe that they did some of these things that they should have been doing. Did they go to the school? How would we know? When Seth Rogers sent them a tip that a nurse from Sebastian's doctor's office reported that the Friday before Sebastian went missing, his mother, KP, called and canceled his appointment for the following week after he was reported missing. She gave no explanation. She did not reschedule. And the nurse stated this was of concern because Sebastian didn't miss his appointments and they were ongoing. So my friends, like we talk about in the legal system, patterns of behavior are evidence. The pattern of behavior is Sebastian shows up for his appointments. The abnormal behavior is 3 days before he went missing, mom canceled it with no explanation. And even scarier is law enforcement chose not to follow up on that. Who had the power to make that decision? Sumner County. Who did it benefit? KP. Who did it protect? KP. Who did it hurt? Sebastian and the investigation. And that is so shocking to me because that is a guarantee, in my opinion, that it was premeditated and a plan. And Sumner County wasn't interested in following the lead. Now, when they go to court and they sit their little tushies in the chairs under oath, Mr. Craddock and Mr. Carter are going to have to explain that, aren't they? They're going to have to explain those decisions. They are to do home assessments, executing unannounced or scheduled safety and risk assessment at the child's residence. It read in the report one thing I'm not sure we're supposed to talk about because there's a gag on that now. But anyway, I'm not going to say what it said out there. Executing announced or scheduled safety and risk assessments at the child's residence. How many did they do? Did they just pop in and see a child doing his homework or eating a snack and said, oh, he's good. We can close this now. CP, you're okay. They are supposed to, law enforcement and the DA's office, use gathered facts from the team to pursue criminal charges if a crime occurred, while DCS determines the administrative finding substantiated or unsubstantiated regarding child safety. So that means DCS is in a whole lot of trouble too, in my opinion, because they substantiated the decision that there was no services needed and no concerns. And boom, the child is gone 9 months later. And again, mind you, still no notification to the biological father that the stepfather manhandles and is a brute to his son, who is now missing. They are supposed to do safety and service planning. The team collaborates on ongoing case planning, protective custody actions. Do you hear that? Protective custody actions. And connecting the family with mental health and advocacy resources. That decision was made to close the case. Is this why we see no investigation, no searching? A sheriff who says no foul play when he knows darn well that the stepfather has a history of harming the child and wanting him unalive? It's been documented by DCS. Is that why he's no help? Is that why he doesn't do press conferences? He'd rather hide and make it go away, even though it's a child's life, to save his own tush, allegedly. I'm just speculating, my friends. Yes, Sebastian was deemed in immediate danger. That's right, Brandy. And they closed it, contradicting those statements that were documented thoroughly through the CPS intakes. It's terrible. And that canceling of the appointment, no curiosity. Why a mother who reported a child missing knew enough to cancel his appointment 3 days before? No, you don't want to ask her what her plans were, why they couldn't make it? You didn't want to ask the doctor's office how many other appointments they missed? You didn't want to ask her? Why? That protects KP. That benefits KP. And who had the power not to investigate that tip? Sumner County Sheriff's Office. Who's on the CPIT team? Sumner County Sheriff's Office. And I think this is why they're doing what they're doing to Sebastian and Seth. Because they don't want that CPIT decision uncovered, showing they closed it and harm came to him. And it shows bias against Seth by keeping secrets from him from 9 months before to when he disappeared, not telling him any of that, not telling him what the stepfather was doing to his child, and keeping secrets with KP and CP and in alliance with them. So when they closed that case, who did that benefit? CP. Who did the CPIT team's decision protect? CP. Because he's the one who would have had charges. He's the one who would have gone to prison. He's the one who would have never gotten custody of his daughter, all allegedly speculating. Who had the power to make that decision? The CPIT team had the power to make the decision to close the case. And I do think that is why. Okay, we are going to go over, and I'm still going to go through a whole bunch of who had the power, who did it benefit, who did it protect. Because if you see who it's benefited so far, who does it benefit? CP. Which takes us to, why would they do that? So we're going to keep going. Hey, Nick. Thank you, Nick, for the 100 jewels. Good to see you. High five. Thank you. Good to have you in here. Hi, Bluegrass Meadows. A fundraiser, Bluegrass Meadows, I'm reading a comment if you're in the bushes. A fundraiser needs to be created for help wanted billboards seeking someone to step up and run against EC. Absolutely, and usually you can reach out to the political parties and see if they have any candidates in mind. But with the way Sumner County is, they've got them lined up. They don't like elections. They just appoint. Someone dies, they appoint, in my opinion. So we're going to go to the timeline for a second, because I want us to see the importance of the timeline with the 9 months in there. And I also brought up, we are going to continue to add to this timeline, but right now we're just focusing on this decision, what happened. Because I think this is the why that they're hiding, that they don't want it to get bigger, that they don't want to investigate, that they don't follow tips. And Sumner County Sheriff's and CP always saying Sumner County Sheriff's Office knows everything. Well, they certainly know everything about the A. Right? They're on the team. Craddock's the paper pusher. The papers come across his desk. Okay, so the timeline. On December 26, 2024. Let me see where I was going with it. Okay, yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm going to go backwards for you for a second. On February 26, 2024, at 6:33 p.m., dispatch reported Sebastian missing. On February 26, 2024, the mother claims he was reported missing at 6:03 a.m. after 3 minutes of a very extensive search around the house, under the house, in the bedrooms, side of beds, in the bathroom. But remember, what does she never mention searching? The garage. She goes right from the house, doesn't look under the car to see if he's hiding under there, doesn't mention checking the garage, jump in my car. She skips the thought of the garage. And I think that is very, very important in my opinion. Like she doesn't want to broach the subject, my opinion. Show Poodles is talking about the elections and says that's so no one new can continue. That's so the new one can continue the cover up of the old elective officials can continue, in my opinion. It's a vicious circle, in my opinion. That's my opinion as well. And that's also my opinion, Ray Whitley, when an election was years coming right there, after 40 years of being in office as the DA, in less than 2 weeks, gives his resignation and appoints someone else because they don't like the people to have a choice. They need their little buddies in there, in my opinion. The ones who support their generational corruption, in my opinion. So 6:33 is when the dispatch went out. Mom claims she saw him at 6 a.m. 3 minutes, searched the whole house, and within then they were making a phone call. So that leaves a 30-minute window. What happened in that 30 minutes? Why? Why did she wait? Why did she have to fib about it? Why not just say, I went in there at 6:30, searched the house for 3 minutes, and called dispatch at 6:33? It makes no sense. But she's left a 30-minute window. And the trash truck left before he was reported missing. It was Monday morning trash day. The trash truck entered the neighborhood around 5:20ish, I believe. I have it written down in my notes, and I'll put that in our slideshow here. And then left before, so that he was missing. So they come in around 5, a little after 5, and Sebastian's already missing. They leave before he's reported missing. Could that be why she waited? Was she waiting for the trash to be picked up? And we have a video coming up about the trash and everything that has been discussed about it lately. So hit your subscribe, your notification bells, it's coming. But why the 30-minute window of lie? Okay, so CP calls, the stepfather calls, doesn't call 911, even though they said that's, KP said she's teaching Sebastian to call 911 for emergency. They don't do that. They call a non-recorded line, allegedly. And by the way, they called non-emergency line. I lost my train of thought because I see our friend Raymond in here. Hi, Raymond. 17 months. Sorry, can't stay long. Work. So good to see you, Raymond. Thank you for popping in. Hi, Jules to Callie. So, okay, where was I? So we've got the 30 minutes in the dispatch. We have the trash truck leaving the neighborhood before he's reported missing. Don't forget, we're going to do a separate video on the trash can being too heavy and the landfill and the probable cause and all of that. So KP reports him at 6:03. She tells us, but it's 6:33 because we heard the dispatch. By the time she reports him, the trash truck is gone. Could that be relevant in a red flag? It could be. Is that why she waited? Is that why there's a 30-minute window? But it just makes no sense why she even said 6:03. She could have said 6:33 and none of us would have even thought anything of it. Okay, so go back in time 9 months to approximately May of 2023. 9 months before Sebastian Rogers, at age 15, was reported missing by his mother. He is 14 at the time, and the Child Protective Investigative Team closes the case. Go forward 9 months. the child is missing. They make a decision, and rather than putting Sebastian where he said was his safe place, where he felt safe with his father, they do not even tell the father. They do not put him with the father. They keep him in the dangerous environment they thoroughly documented. I wonder why. We're getting to it, my friends. Oh, thank you, Raymond. Thank you so much for the Crime Time Buzz membership. You're so sweet. I appreciate it very, very much. If you receive it, be sure to thank our friend Raymond. Jerry, thank you so much. That's so sweet. Yes, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel. It's free. Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate that. Y'all are amazing. I appreciate your generosity. So we're going to keep going. Now, when Katie called, it states in the law, or Katie reported about Sebastian being missing. It states in the lawsuit that KP says, my son walked out on his own and hasn't come back yet. Now, that is another red flag. Look at all the red flags in the first few minutes. Yet, law enforcement says no foul play, no evidence. First of all, the stepfather having a historical record of A is evidence, something to be investigated, right? To see if that led to foul play. No foul play, really. You've got that situation going on in a home you've already been on the team for and all of that, and you don't think there's possibly foul play. Very interesting. Why? Who does that protect by saying no foul play? For sure, CP. Who does it benefit? For sure, CP. Also KP. Who has the power to say that? Sumner County. Who's the common denominator between the CPI team and the power to make that decision? Sumner County. So they failed to protect a child. The decision they made protected the A instead of the child. The child goes missing 9 months later. They want the investigation to go away. They want it to be silenced. They don't want to say his name. They don't want to do a press conference. They refuse to talk to the father because they're keeping secrets with the stepfather and the biological mother and have aligned with them in these secrets and are biased against the father, in my opinion. Now, another red flag in these first few minutes. Look at all of them. You don't think in it. I mean, I think Yogi Bear could investigate and look at all this and know who he should be looking at in the initial hours, right? But Sumner County Sheriff's Office just didn't. And why? In my opinion, it all goes back to 9 months, May 2023, when they closed the case of a vulnerable 14-year-old with disabilities in a danger environment, left him there, and he disappeared. They didn't show his picture at the presser either. Yes. And we're going to watch the presser. That's how we're ending, because I want us to watch it. We've got a lot. This is kind of going to be a little bit of a longer live, you all, because I put it together and there's a lot. So bear with me. Stick with me if you would. So here's another red flag. So the lawsuit says, KP says, my son walked out on his own and hasn't come back. He doesn't have a history of walking out. He's not done it before. Why would she go to he left on his own? When she heard a thud, a bang, a noise, and never checked on him the night before. My mind as a mom would go, oh my gosh, I wonder the thud. I wonder if someone jumped through the window and grabbed him or something. But no, he walked out the door on his own and hasn't come back. Why would she not be terrified, remembering back that there was a thud, as Brandon Carter puts it, a bang, a noise, and she never checked on him? Isn't that really weird? He's never left on his own and not returned before. but she heard a thud, a bang, a noise, and she goes with the walked out on his own? Very strange, I say. And let's not forget CP, how adamant he was in the beginning that he walked through that front door and stood on my porch. Let me make it crystal clear. Remember that? From a man who wasn't even there. How did he know he stood on his porch? How did he know he walked through his front door? Walked out the front door? Yes, there was a dent in the garage door too, and the neighbor stating that he was made to sleep in a mattress on the garage because he wet the bed. Yes. And when you hear that he was made to wear pull-ups and shamed for having accidents when many victims of SA do, it kind of makes you believe that he slept on a mattress in the garage for wetting the bed because of what they did, what the stepfather insisted be done when he wet his pants. And by the way, didn't happen at his father's home. Okay, so we're going to continue real quick. Stick with me if you will, because we're going to watch some videos too. We are going to just keep going, and we are going to go through all the decisions that have been made. Not all of them, many of the decisions that have been made. And when I'm going through them, I'd ask for you to put in the chat other ones that I haven't covered, and I'll add them to it. So 9 months prior to the disappearance, 14-year-old May 2023, Sebastian Rogers case, DCS cases closed by the Child Protective Investigative Team. Sebastian's 14. 8 months prior to that, they move into the Proudfoot home. So it doesn't take them very long here to be on the radar at this home, does it? And you know, a lot of times we hear families who have problems with DCF, they like to move. And we've talked about that so many times. I wonder if that's why they moved. Were there problems on Remington Avenue? Okay, which is interesting because it said DCS had said after their move to Stafford, DCS had to locate them. Well, if they had to locate them once from Remington to Stafford, in my opinion, that means they were on their caseload in Remington. And when the lawsuit says there were 2 incidents, one of which occurred in the house on Stafford, that now makes me wonder, was the other incident at the house on Remington Avenue? I am speculating. They move. DCS has to track them down. They're back on their radar. The CPIT team convenes because of the severity. And 9 months later, Sebastian's missing because they closed the case. Is this why they won't investigate, in my opinion? Is this why they don't follow tips? Is this why they don't want to speak to the father? Because they've aligned with their lie about the CPIT team, allegedly, and what the stepfather had done and the secret they were keeping from the father. 9 months before, and the day he disappeared intentionally, still hadn't told him. They were around him 8 days in February, still didn't tell him. And I think that's why they want this to go away. That's why CP was almost wetting his pants saying, if you make this any bigger, because if it got bigger, it led back to the CPIT team, to DCS, and to him. And boy, are the charges serious if they had been charged. So who did the CPIT team decision benefit when they closed the case again? CP. Who did the CPIT team's decision protect? Not Sebastian. It protected CP. Who had the power to make that decision? The CPIT team. Sumner County Sheriff's Office, the CAC, the DA, and the DSF. CP benefits and is protected, doesn't get charged or go to jail. Won't harm his custody of Faith. Now, why would they do that, and who would do that? And that's where I say there's more than one entity on this CPIT team. And when it goes to trial, if it goes to trial in front of the jury, they would have to explain why he wasn't charged. What evidence showed them the house went from being a dangerous, demeaning environment with corporal punishment to no concerns and services needed? Hi, Caroline. Thank you. Hi, couponing. Why would they do that? Why would they risk their career when Sebastian's in danger? Why would they risk Sebastian's life when Sebastian's in danger? Why would they do that? And I'm going to say this. Let's follow the money. Who with money would allegedly protect CP? Mama Socks, allegedly. Who built $1 million home in 2024? We're just speculating. We're just putting pieces together, not accusing. Eric Craddock did. A few minutes from the step socks. Now, I find it very interesting that in 2024, Eric Craddock builds $1 million home after. Now, he's had the land. He got it at auction. We'll talk about that whole other case. We talked about that on video before, how he got it, blah, 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 at an auction, and we can revisit it later. But he has his land. He doesn't build on it for a year or two. CPIT's closed. Sebastian goes missing the same year, 2024, where he builds $1 million home. We are just speculating, but it sure is some quite coincidence, isn't it? And we also know that Sebastian, in the step family of CP, there is someone who builds those homes. And we also know that he built the whole neighborhood where the step socks live. Craddock's home is just a few miles away. Could he have built the home for him? Possibly. We also know that Sean Taylor from Millersville, police chief, said Sebastian's case is directly tied to, and I'll put this video up at the end for you guys again. Sebastian's case is directly tied to child teen in Sumner County, money laundering through the housing industry, and mortgage fraud. And that people were being paid off from internationally overseas into Sumner County. Allegedly. That is what was being said. He had files where he could prove it. He said it ties right into Sebastian's case. And TBI raided his office, took all the files away. Someone took a nug to his house when he and his family were in it. And someone tried to hit him head on, actually one of the people that he had uncovered information about. So rather than being a county that stands up and says, no way are you going to child T our children. No way are you going to come from international sources and start bribing our officials. No way are you going to allow this? And we're coming after. Give us those files. We'll help join you in the effort. Oh, no. They got rid of him and tried to scare him to silence. I ask why. Because in my opinion, it is tied to child teen. Because why would they destroy the files? Why would Sean Taylor, I think he was chief of police, Millersville, actually say Sebastian Rogers' case is tied to this, his disappearance? Why, in my opinion? Because he had files they took away. He had proof. So rather than help bring these people down, they took away the proof. Why? Dirty deeds, in my opinion, in Sumner County. Who did it benefit to take all of that and toss it down get rid of it? It did not benefit the children being child teed. It benefited the very individuals involved and making money. Who did it protect? Who did it protect? Not Sebastian. It protects the people who were doing that too, involved in this whole transnational alleged ring. Who had the power to raid the office and take his files? TBI. And Sean Taylor says he did it. They did it as a favor called in from Sumner County, allegedly. Hi, Veronica. Hi, Lisa. So it's scary. And that's why I think it is possible Sebastian is out there. Because we have a chief of police saying Sebastian's disappearance is tied to this child teen ring. So why would they want it to go away? Because I think it'll bring down a lot of officials. And remember, generational corruption, allegedly. So who with money would protect CP from going to jail? We're going back to that now. Mama Socks. Who built $1 million home in 2024? Craddock. We're just speculating. Who could have built that home for him? Danny G., Sebastian's step-uncle. Who could have also assisted with the housing and money industry or money situation to anyone willing to make it go away so Chris wouldn't go to prison or be charged? Mama Socks. So he doesn't get charged to go to jail. It doesn't harm his custody for faith that he's trying to get. So he benefits, he's protected, and the people who have the power to do that is Sumner County Sheriff's Office. Who's the common denominator between the CPIT team and this decision not to charge Chris? Sumner County Sheriff's Office is the common denominator. Who's the one who's making the case silent? Won't say Sebastian's name? Sumner County Sheriff's Office. And I think it all goes back down to the CPIT decision. And now they're going to have to go on to a stand under oath, hopefully, because I'm hoping it goes to trial, and they will have to explain all of these decisions they made. And if there was an alleged payoff to keep him out of trouble, allegedly speculating, that will come through too. And let's not forget Eric Craddock building that $1 million home in 2024 and CP loving to say the term the $1 million question. Where is he? That's the $1 million question. Well, there's $1 million man, there's $1 million home. Does that connect? So the CPIT team, I'm coming back to you guys for a second. Let me come back to you all for a second. Well, Minnie, I don't think, Minnie's asking a great question. Do you really think they will tell the truth under oath? I don't. I don't either, in my opinion. I really don't. Hi, Lisa Voigt. Thank you. Love you back. I don't think so either. However, they are going to be asked for very specific documentations regarding that CPIT decision and team. And you can't tell me the Child Advocacy Center is going to let their reputation go down based on some decisions that others may have made. That's just my opinion, because the others on there are the DA, Sumner County, DCS even. DCS is the one who substantiated it. So I think the documentation, if it goes to trial, that's going to be asked for, Minnie, is going to push the truthful narrative, in my opinion, because there are advocates on that team who we have to assume are not corrupt. I can't believe the Child Advocacy Center would be corrupt, would be hiding this. So I'm hoping. So, great question. Thank you. So who so far is our common denominators? The CPIT team, Sumner County's on it. And who has the power to make all these decisions? Sumner County. And who is continually being protected by these decisions? CP. Who's being hurt by them? Sebastian. They don't want any of that out. That's why they need this to go away. That's why Littlefoot, Dirty Foot, Littlefoot, didn't want it to get any bigger. He was not worried about finding Sebastian. He's worried about going to jail, because we all know they don't have breastfeeding hours in jail. You got to drink the milk from a cup, buddy. You guys said you wanted Snarky J. Okay. Who had the power to treat Seth Rogers differently from the beginning of the search and control info he was given? Sumner County Sheriff's Office. Who did that hurt? Sebastian and Seth. Who did that benefit? CP, so Seth wouldn't find out. Who's the common denominator? The power was in Sumner County's hands, and they were also on the CPIT team. Sumner County, again, is the common denominator in that decision to keep Seth in the dark. Who's the benefiter? CP. Who gets hurt? Sebastian and Seth. Sumner County Sheriff's Office was biased from the start and had aligned with the P-Foots due to their knowledge of the A that they did not disclose to the father at any point. I think that's why they don't want to investigate. We're going to be watching Craddock in that one video with Nick Barris too. Look at the fear in his eyes. Kind of makes sense now, doesn't it? Actually, I want to go to that real quick. Hold on. Let me go to that one real quick. Just a second. I'm going to go back here. I think it's time for us to watch that again. Hold on. For those of you who are new to the case, this is a local newscaster who every time he says something, he backtracks because Sumner County yells at him. And he claims to have inside sources, and then he'll say things like they don't claim to have found the foul play yet. And then he has to come back on and say, anyone saying there's foul play can go to jail. And so he's clearly a puppet, and they have the strings, in my opinion. Hi, Nancy. Thank you so much. Hiding. Thank you so much for the 10 jewels. So appreciate it. You all are amazing. Thank you. It honestly does help me to sub less and have more time with you guys. So I love it because you guys are my favorites. CP doesn't want to become a big Bubba girlfriend. Oh, in my opinion. I agree with you, Barbara. Seth offered interesting facts. Oh my goodness, I know. I watched the whole thing, and I'm going to bring that to you too, Caroline. That was an amazing interview. And I watched the entire thing. Me either, Minnie. Makes me sick. Doesn't have a backbone, in my opinion. So we're going to watch this interview. This is the last day we ever heard Eric Craddock speak on the case, April 2nd of 2024. It was after the only press conference they ever did. My source told me Nick Barris had kind of cornered Craddock for an interview. Craddock was really mad because he didn't want to talk to Nick because Nick had released the flashlight video that he had to say it was a trash truck. I mean, he's got to be feeling so embarrassed, in my opinion. Okay. And so this was April 2nd, like 5 weeks after Sebastian went missing. And it's the last time we've heard from this sheriff. Now, we all know we look for a sheriff who's strong with confidence and caring for his constituents and professional and not slouched in a chair, not answering questions with one word about a child whose life matters. But this is what Sumner County has. Look at it. So in my opinion, it's a disgrace to the badge, this interview. And I'm glad it's on record for everyone forever. Here we go.
All right, Nick Barris here, and I'm with Sumner County Sheriff's Chief Deputy Eric Craddock, talking a bit about an update on the search for Sebastian Rogers. Just, this is the first time we've heard from you in a while, and that's because you guys have been busy investigating.
That's right.
Anything new to report at this stage?
No, sir.
Nothing. 5 weeks.
No, sir.
Doesn't offer anything.
Just ask me, what is being done at this point? What does the public need to know that you continue to do?
We continue to investigate and follow up on every tip or lead that comes in.
No, you don't.
Any evidence of foul play?
There's no evidence to support foul play.
But you can't rule it out necessarily. You're ruling nothing out at this point.
That's right. I'm ruling nothing out.
And as far as the public, what you could ask them to continue to do?
Remain vigilant. If they see something, say something. Call 1-800-TBI-FIND or 615-451-3838 with any tips or leads.
Okay, we'll have much more on this story to come.
Did that seem professional to you? To me, that seemed like an uninterested sheriff with a lot of fear in his eyes, in my opinion. Slouched like a little kid who's been caught, in my opinion. Not a strong sheriff who protects and serves. Not a sheriff who is concerned about every single constituent. He had to pull information out of him, giving one word. That's an embarrassment to the badge, in my opinion. And yet that's the last time he spoke on Sebastian. He claims that what they've been doing is investigating. Well, how? What? Why don't you tell people what you're doing? Or are you sitting at the desk, ignoring the tip line and sending it to someone who's retired, in my opinion? I've sent many without having a response. Let's not forget the ransom thing that neither of you got involved with. Very unprofessional. This is on record now. And I hope this goes to the trial and is played there, because it shows his lack of spirit to solve this case. And he's got a lot of fear in his eyes, in my opinion. Lisa, he does kind of, huh? Makes sense. I agree. This is a great comment from Lisa C. YouTuber is here. I figure if they didn't have any intention of getting Sebastian, it sort of makes sense that since he has maybe some bruises on his neck, and that same office made claims last time. Yeah, it could be. The reason they don't want to find him is if there's something that will point to foul play. Or they know exactly where he is. Like CP says, they know everything. Well, now we know his words are true. They knew about part of it. We know now they knew everything about what was going on in that house. So that part's true. So do they know 9 months later what happened? I guess things are going to start cracking here. Lack of interest, yes. Minnie, you're so funny. Bye, Barbara. So good to have you. But that's what his last time he spoke on the case. He's run 2 elections since then. Very charismatic for himself. Very smiley and out with the public and talking and wear a shirt with his own name on it. That was a perfect opportunity to wear a shirt with the one missing child from your community. But no, didn't even say his name. He's afraid, my friends, in my opinion. And this could be why he won't allow help. He's rude to Seth. He's aligned with the P-Foots over the CPS lies and not telling Seth. He ignores the case. He ignores Sebastian. He ignores Seth. He won't do press conferences. He won't update his public. because he does not want the CPIT decision uncovered, because, my friends, Sumner County Sheriff's Office is the common denominator in about 90% of these decisions, between being on the CPIT team and making the decisions that came afterwards. They show bias against Seth by intentionally hiding this 9 months before and in February when he went missing, keeping secrets and an alliance with CP and KP. Please hit that thumbs up if you have not, and subscribe to the channel if you'd be so willing. Okay. Who had the power to separate CP, KP, and Seth to interview them on February 26th? Separately. Sumner County Sheriff's Office. Who had the power to not separate CP, KP, and Seth to interview? And they did not. Sumner County Sheriff's Office. Knowing CP and his history of A to Sebastian, and they didn't speak to him separately. And that, my friends, is very telling. They arrive at a home that's on their radar for very severe A, and the individual is not separately spoken to. Heck, he should have been detained, in my opinion, or taken down, like we've seen in many cases when there's a history of A and a child goes missing, people go behind bars. But no, a decision was made that Sumner County Sheriff's Office is the one who had the power to make it, not to separate them, because they were the one on scene, the lead jurisdiction. And believe me, they want the credit because they won't let anyone else help. So anything that went wrong is Sumner County. Anything that went right is Sumner County, because they won't let anyone help. Because you know what happens when you call the U.S. Marshals in? They find the kids. They ask for their record, the documents, the reports. They look at it and they go out and they find the kids. Boy, how embarrassing that might have been for Sumner County Sheriff's Office to have to hand over that file. And again, in my opinion, this all leads back to the decision and dominoed into a shoddy investigation, lack of documentation, lack of follow-through on tips, lack of communication with the father, lack of taking the one person of interest that would make sense, in my opinion, and letting the public know they were speaking to a person of interest, and why, like we've heard in many cases, they're called out. Why didn't they call out CP? They protected him. And again, why would they do that and risk their career? Follow the money. Someone, in my opinion, 9 months before the disappearance, just speculating, was given a little something to not charge him, to close that case. And then 9 months later, the child goes missing, and everyone needs this to go away, or lots of heads are going to roll. Who did it benefit not to separate them all? CP. Who did it benefit not to do the proper interview for someone who would be a person of interest because of their history? CP. Who had the power to make the decision? Sumner County. Who's on the team that closed the case? Sumner County. Who had the power not to separate people? Sumner County. Even though they knew the harm that he had done to Sebastian. Who's the common denominator? Sumner County. They were biased from the start. They had to keep the CPIT decision quiet from the biological father, Seth Rogers. Even once he disappeared, they aligned with the P-Foots, keeping that secret, and had bias against Seth Rogers. Who had the power to block off the crime scene to avoid contamination? Sumner County Sheriff's Office. Who is on the CPIT team? Sumner County Sheriff's Office. Who had the power not to, put separate there. Who had the power not to block off the crime scene to avoid contamination? Sumner County Sheriff's Office. Who did not block off the crime scene to avoid contamination. Sumner County Sheriff's Office, while knowing all along CP's history of aid and harm to Sebastian, the very child they were there at the house for because he was missing. It is very telling. Who did it benefit by contaminating the crime scene? You know, I put CP, and I'm just going to have to say, I think it benefited CP, KP, and everyone in that home. And who did it hurt? It hurt the investigation, and it hurt Sebastian. Who's the common denominator of all these decisions? Sumner County Sheriff's Office. And is that why they also have the power? They're the ones running the investigation, that there's really no investigation being run. And we just watched this video ahead of time. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I know it's a little long, but I had gone through this ever since Seth had filed this. I just kept going back through this and looking up information about the CPIT team and how it worked. And everything kept taking me back to Sumner County and CP, right? And possibly a handoff, a bribe, allegedly, not accusing, speculating. They don't give us any information. They want us to speculate. Lisa said, Jay, did you hear CP say that there are 3 houses in the neighborhood up for sale, including one directly across the street? I did not. Lisa, if you know what panel he was on when he said that, will you send me the video? I'd love to watch. I know there's a lot with ET on there, and he went on and things like that. And I watched TIR with Seth and things, and we're going to cover that. But I'd love to see if you guys, anyone watched, and Doodle Mom, I know you usually have stuff. If anyone watched where they went on panel together recently, if you could please send that to me. No, this is not at all Diamond Eyes. Hello, by the way. Hi, Renita. Hi, Veronica. This is not at all how the justice system is supposed to work. Nobody is above being charged, judges, all of them. Right. But sadly, we have how did that man put it from Sumner County? There is a Republican sect in Sumner County, and the guy, the official who said this is also Republican, but he's not part of theirs. It's like the Reform Republican Party. He said that group is anti-government. They don't like the laws and rules of government, but yet now they are the government. So they think they have unlimited power to do whatever they want. It's been going on for generations. No one's brought them down. But my friends, it looks like to me Seth Rogers may be bringing them down. And you just think about it, $25 million in all. I hope he gets every penny, because that's going to make people above Eric Craddock's head and DCS's head start making heads roll, in my opinion, because money talks, doesn't it? And Sumner County looks real bad these days. They've got a county commissioner who can't keep his hands off of children under 13, been going on for decades. They have a Gallatin police officer from Sumner County who, when they did another child teen sting, see, here it is again, and it was in Sumner County in Hendersonville. Remember, I shared with you guys the hotel it was at. Guess who they found there? The Gallatin police officer of Sumner County, and arrested him. Numerous teachers. You know, we hear, you know, I'm a teacher, y'all. We hear things where teachers have inappropriate relations, exchanges with students. But I've taught for decades, and I've never been in a county where that happened. And I certainly have never been in a county where there are at least 3 to 6 within months, 1 year, who can't keep their hands off their students. It's a dirty little town, in my opinion. So all of this is on record. him not contributing in that interview, his attitude towards the case, and his attitude towards updating the public, you saw how much he didn't want to give any information. He didn't offer anything. He didn't act like a gentleman. He didn't act professional. He didn't act strong. He certainly didn't act like he could protect anyone. He's a paper pusher, in my opinion, and we just saw it. He hasn't properly trained his staff if they are incapable of showing up to a crime scene and taping it off. He's responsible for that. He's the sheriff. Yet he'll ask for a raise. So, that interview revealed his lack of interest. And it's on record, his unprofessional demeanor and his sloppy stature and his indifference to the case. And it's also on record where he sits in that chair and slouches saying there is no foul play, when he knows darn well he's seen reports come across his desk, and Sumner County Sheriff's Office was on the CPIT team. And they disregarded the that was occurring. But it's all on record. How can you say no foul play when a child goes missing 9 months later after you closed a case against his stepfather for harming him? How? Would you risk your career just for the heck of it? I don't think so. I think, in my opinion, we have to follow the money. And in my opinion, like Chris CP said, where is he? That's the $1 million question. Well, in my opinion, we have a sheriff who built $1 million home. Well, in my opinion, we have a step uncle who builds $1 million homes. And in my opinion, we have step grandparents who are involved in the housing industry as well. And my friends, I believe all of this contributes to why they want this to go away. Why Sebastian doesn't matter to them. Because their own little tushes are going to be behind bars if all of this is proven. They wouldn't ask for help because anyone who would come in and help would see all of this. Find out he was on their in front paperwork on their desk about him at Sumner County, and that they were all on the CPIT team for severe A. Imminent danger and needing to be removed. And suddenly it's closed. Money talks, my friends. Money talks, and that's my opinion. But what else would make someone ruin a career if they got caught? The arrogance to know they wouldn't get caught, in my opinion. The arrogance to know if they did get caught, the people who would be going up against them would look the other way, unless it was someone who's not a part of the little old boys, the good old boys gang. And that's Seth Rogers. And I think he's going to blow this up with this lawsuit. DSS is already in enough trouble for the way they treat children. But the person who could say no foul play, not mention a person of interest as the stepfather who puts his hands on him, says he has no evidence when he has evidence of a stepfather who A's the child, he's going to be in a lot of trouble, in my opinion. Don't you all think? Let me come back to you all. Don't you all think? I mean, what? I just don't understand it. Oh, my goodness. You all, thank you so much. Nancy, thank you for the 10 jewels and the additional 10 jewels hiding. Thank you so much, you all. I truly appreciate it. It truly does mean more time with you all. And that's what I really have been struggling with, is just juggling what I need to do and being with you all. That's why they do not. Ooh, I'm sorry, y'all. I just had a comment I wanted to read that was really good from Texas Plain Jane. That's why they do not want or ask for an outside agency to help. They would get caught, in my opinion. Absolutely. I agree with you, Texas Plain Jane. I totally agree with you. The marshals come in. They don't go to court and stuff. They just come in. They take the file. They look. They see. They go find the child. But the problem is you got to hand over a file. And if you're not doing what you should be doing, I mean, we already know they're required to follow up on every tip. And they're not. So all of this is going to come tumbling down because of these lawsuits, in my opinion. Because the arrogant, corrupt people who allowed Sebastian to be taken rather than be safe at his father's place are going to have to answer for this. And when Tennessee has to cough up $25 million, which I hope they do, Seth deserves every penny. And when he brings Sebastian home, they'll have a wonderful life. Every penny for the emotional they have put him through for 2.5 years. So let me see what you all are saying. Okay. The reason, this is Lisa C. If you're in the bushes, I'm reading a few comments. The reason I say the custody hearing is because I believe they all felt that all this stuff was in the bag and they had all of this taken care of and already, and it wouldn't be an issue. Amen, Texas Plain Jane. And I think they just did not expect Seth to never give up. But when you're dealing with people who don't understand unconditional love, who don't understand healthy love. I mean, now remember what KP was raised in. Her mother is a lifelong RSO. And her victim, she was the parent or guardian of her victim. You put it together. Okay? So when people can't understand healthy love and they can't understand unconditional love, and they have a narcissistic love for themselves and their own well-being, they don't imagine someone else can have that kind of unconditional love. So in my opinion, they underestimated Seth. They just assumed he'd give up sooner or later, because that's who they are, in my opinion. But that's not who he is. So it makes sense why we see fear in Craddock's eyes in that interview. It makes sense, you all. And it's all on record now that he knows foul play has occurred in that house 9 months before. They did not help the child and put him in the one safe place he said he could live and be. They protected the stepfather. They kept it a secret. They never released it. They never arrested him. They never charged him. And now a child is missing. And all of them, Sumner County, which is Brandon and Eric, because they're the ones in charge of this case, they have an alignment now with KP and Chris, because they all know secrets that they didn't share and processes that weren't followed. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already, please. I would sure appreciate it. And the thumbs up, hype, whatever, to get this out there, because this really does connect the dots, in my opinion. Now, I'm sure Seth and his lawyer have already figured all this out. I had to go through it and break it down. And the more I did it, I thought, I got to show this to you all. Another question. Who had the power to alert the public that there was a history with the stepfather and he was being investigated in the disappearance of Sebastian Rogers simply because of the history, which would have made them look less foolish because they were actually doing something? Who had that power? Sumner County. Who didn't exert their power to alert the public, the world watching, that they were interviewing someone who had a history of harming the missing child? Sumner County. Who did that benefit? CP. Who did it hurt? Sebastian, and Seth. Who's the common denominator between the CPIT team and that power? Who has the power to make that decision? Sumner County. The common denominator again, my friends, Sumner County. Look at the investigation they're running, and it starts to make sense. Now, before I go on, I want to know what you all think. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you. Caroline, if you're in the bushes, said, appreciate all your hard work. You do a fantastic job, Jay. Thank you so much. Yes, he had only been diagnosed like a year before. And I'm writing down. Remember, I told you yesterday there's certain things I don't want to say, but I'll say them in the members only. I'll tell you something I know about that too, that I've heard from an inside source. So we are going to have, this is a good time to let you all know. Several of you have emailed me and asked me when I would be bringing, hi Kylie's Nail Candy, bringing Unplugged back. I didn't know you guys liked that so much. One person even told me to sell tickets to it, and I'm not selling tickets. You all know I don't do that to you all. But hi Paige. Yes, I agree that people are getting paid to protect CPKP's secrets. Yes. $1 million question, $1 million home. Same persons on the team. What made it go bye-bye? I'm just speculating, not accusing. Yes, in the DCS records, it says that the neighbors said that CP, the stepfather, hated Sebastian and wanted him unalive. So, Lisa, I will go further on your comment in our members live. So what I was going to tell you guys real quick, we'll just take a second break. I know this is getting long, but I think it's really important. We're not done yet to share this, because it does make things make sense, right? Because you just can't understand why they wouldn't want to find a child, their only missing child. Like, they're sitting in their office. They won't even come out. They won't let people in. People who go to give information about Sebastian, they won't even let in. They won't talk to him. They don't want to talk to him. Welcome in, Lisa Hunt. We will see you at the members live. So many of you have been asking about Unplugged. And Unplugged, for those of you who aren't aware of it, oh, thank you, Jerry. You're so sweet. You guys are amazing. Unplugged was a little show we did here on crimtimebuzz, where we cover other topics. For instance, like with what's going on in Lindsay Clancy, we may be covering postpartum depression and psychosis. We've done survival skills. We did someone whose child had been extorted online who came and spoke with us and gave us tips for making sure that didn't happen. So we have a lot of good topics, different from our current cases. But what I'd like to do is turn Unplugged into that when you see Unplugged, that's my members only. And I'm going to be saying things. If you see Sebastian's face on there, I'm going to share things that I don't want to share over the big airwaves for everyone. And that's just what we'll do. And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to bring good topics to this channel. I am. So I'm just saying that way we can keep it kind of organized. And I'm thinking I can do a couple of unplugs a week. Unplugged. I can do a couple of them a week. And that way I can touch base with you all of things I want to say to you, things I've heard, or topics we want to talk about. And remember, we had really fun trivia competitions as well in there. Oh, see, Veronica, I'm glad you liked it. Well, I'm going to bring it back. So Unplugged is just going to be members only. And if you're not a member, no harm, no foul. But if you are a member, I did see Poppy Love. I'm so sorry. Yes, I put it up on the screen and I forgot to say something. Poppy Love, thank you for renewing your membership. Much love. Lisa Hunt, thank you for being a new member. And Lisa Hunt, thank you for gifting a Crime Time Buzz membership. You all are wonderful. Thank you so much. And I will be doing 2 Unplugged within the next 7 days. So buckle up. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff, but really the first one is I am going to be talking about things I don't feel I should want to discuss with all the haters who come on or something. You know what I mean? Nothing to you guys. Just don't want to get into it with them or let them know things that I know. So let me go ahead and go back here. Thank you so much, Poppy. Yes. Hi, Rosalie. Rosalie says, I haven't checked into the Sebastian Rogers case in forever. I still say Chris's mitts are all over his going missing. I think many of us tend to agree with you, Rosalie, in our alleged opinion. Right? Well, let's keep going. Are you guys okay? Who had the power to call in the U.S. Marshals, the FBI, the United Cajun Navy, the Cold Case Foundation, but would not, even though they claim absolutely no evidence, no foul play, have been stumped and look like buffoons, in my opinion. Little Boy Scouts who tried to go to war, in my opinion. Suit's too big for them. They don't have the skills. They need to be trained, all in my opinion. Boy Scouts going to war. That's Sumner County. They wouldn't call in the big guns, the people who could actually do it. Now, they know darn well the marshals find kids because the marshals have been finding kids in Tennessee. They have some sting operations that have been going on there, too. So they know that. They know they can find kids. Why haven't they given them Sebastian's name? Why haven't they let the FBI take the lead? If they know they had an alignment and a secret that they had been hiding from Seth Rogers, why didn't they realize they were biased against him, aligned with the lie and the stepfather and mother, and allow the FBI to come in and do a fair investigation? Well, I'll tell you why. Because they don't want it investigated, because it's all going to go back to the CPIT decision where they did not protect Sebastian. They protected CP. And someone just put up in here a great comment. And thank you, Frank, for being a member for so long. Someone put in a great comment, and I just want to, Chris was out of town, right? Well, I think we all know that regardless if he was involved on February 26th or not, this all boils down to they're hiding the fact that he was Sebastian's A. And that's huge. And the fact that they have not interviewed him separately, etc., blows my mind. And I can't wait till they have to explain themselves. Wait till you see what would have happened if they had pressed charges against him. Okay, they didn't want help, even though they had no evidence, no foul play, nothing. But still, no one help us. It's only the life of a child. They chose not to get help. Why? Because that help might find Sebastian. And why didn't they want Sebastian found? There's two reasons, in my opinion. One, they placed him somewhere or teed him, because that's the real going on in Hendersonville. Or two, if he were discovered, there would be signs of showing foul play. Because why wouldn't you want to find a child? Why wouldn't you bring every resource, every person, anyone who would be willing to help to come in and keep looking, especially when you look like buffoons throughout the entire universe? Why wouldn't you want to find that child and bring in every resource? There's a reason. And in my opinion, it's because he's been placed somewhere and they've done this whole big search, or they teed him like that officer from Millersville said, or foul play would be revealed once they found him. Who had the power to call all of them in to ask for help and to help find evidence, to discover foul play, to discover what was going on? Sumner County Sheriff's Office. They chose not to do that. And I truly believe and it benefits CP, because those are real investigators who would have found out there was a real A in the household. I don't mean ASS, I mean ABUSER. A real A in the household hurting him. And then all of a sudden, that's a whole new investigation into them justifying their process, their decisions, their inquiries. I'm telling you, in my opinion, it all goes back to that decision. It all benefits CP and, in my opinion, the CPIT team, but not all of them. In my opinion, the common denominator, as we're seeing, is who? Sumner County Sheriff's Office. So it benefits CP and Sumner County Sheriff's Office not to bring them in. Who does it hurt? Sebastian and Seth. Now, why do they want to benefit and protect CP at the expense of their career? Like I said, I think, in my opinion, it's because back 9 months before, in May of 2023, when Sebastian was 14 years old, rather than charging him with the extensive charges they could in Tennessee, which is coming up in our show, they chose to look the other way, in my opinion, allegedly, speculatively, because someone who had money that is used to bailing out Littlefoot, allegedly, possibly, offered something. That family's involved in the housing, building houses, mortgages. They have money. And Sheriff Craddock now lives a few minutes away from them in $1 million home. Who's the common denominator in having to hog the case and not let anyone else help? When you have been so incapable, you have no evidence, no foul play, which is a lie, because you know he was abusing Sebastian. So why are you lying? Why wasn't a child's life more important? Because something went down, in my opinion, 9 months before. They didn't expect him to disappear. They just thought that was an exchange. They closed it. So be it. Never going to come up again. Well, guess what? It is, because the child disappeared. And our common denominator in the power and the decisions is Sumner County. And the one who's benefiting the most out of every decision they've made is Sumner County and CP. I'm sorry, I did that one already. So could this be why they don't want help? They're rude to Seth. They ignore the case. They ignore Sebastian. They don't want CPIT decision uncovered. Is that why? Because they didn't follow those processes we went over in the beginning? And it shows bias against Seth by intentionally hiding this, keeping secrets, and an alliance with KP and CP. And he won't communicate with them, with the stepfather, who is the only one looking for his child. Bias, conflict of interest, in my opinion. Who had the power to stop searching, not follow tips, not have a designated tip line for Sebastian, their only missing child? Sumner County. They're the only one with the power. Who had that power on the team that made the decision to close the case? Sumner County. Who did it benefit that they stopped searching, didn't follow tips, not have a designated tip line for Sebastian, their only missing child? You know, I put down CP just because I felt like if the investigation went further, they would find out about the CPIT decision. And I think it all goes back to that. That's why they're not doing any of this. And possibly CP is right. They know everything. They know where he is, allegedly. So why would they keep it a secret from a father who's missing his child so much he can't even sleep? If they know everything, why wouldn't they tell Seth? So this could all be rectified, because There's foul play involved. There's lack of honesty involved, in my opinion, lack of integrity involved, in my opinion, some dirty deeds that have been done and possibly paid for or bribed, in my opinion. Just like CP says, law enforcement knows everything. Where is he? That's the $1 million question. And Eric Craddock built a $1 million house after Sebastian went missing. Who is our common denominator again? Sumner County. Who gets hurt by this decision to not search, follow tips, have a tip line? Sebastian, Seth, and the investigation. Who had the power to stop communicating effectively and honestly with the only parent looking for Sebastian? Sumner County. Who's on the team that closed the case of A against CP? Sumner County. Who's on the team that could have protected Sebastian, sent him to his father's, and he'd be here and safe today? Sumner County. Who did it benefit that they stopped talking to Seth? CP for sure, because they kept that secret. KP, because she knew that CPS had been to the house, and possibly Sumner County again. Who did it hurt? Sebastian, Seth, and the investigation. Who's the common denominator? Sumner County. I mean, it just goes on and on, doesn't it? Renita, I'm so glad you said that. When a mother loves her child, the abuse stops the first time CPS is called, not 5. I am so glad you said that. And, you know, again, someone brought up they believe Katie was following the money to keep her lifestyle. She grew up in a home where her mother is a lifelong registered SO. So she grew up in a home where that's normal. S dysfunction is normal. Her mother's victim was, she is either the parent of or guardian of. So you have to think about, are we involved in a cycle here? And that's such a great comment, Renita. And also then we've recently heard the most disgusting statement that there was a code word if Sebastian was S aroused, and then KP would take him to a place to privately release himself. I cannot explain how completely dysfunctional that is. But to someone who grew up in a home with a lifelong registered RSO, who clearly, think about it, lifelong permanent. She's, you know, it's a cycle in my opinion. Who had the power to update the public of their safety? Tell them whether a maniac was in the area? Sumner County. They chose not to. They whispered to people. The good old boys, they whispered, don't worry, it wasn't random. Your kids are safe. Sebastian was targeted. Yep, but chose, why didn't they just go to the public who was freaking out and say, don't worry, there's no one pulling kids out of the beds. You're okay. You know why? Because who would that have pointed to? CP and KP, the household. They were protecting them. They wanted it to go away without the A being focused on. And that benefits CP, KP, and Sumner County. Who had the power to add the 3 a.m. vehicle, dark sedan, to the Amber Alert so the public could help identify it? Sumner County. Who chose not to? Sumner County. Will they have to answer to TBI, who approves the activation? I hope so. But I'm not holding much grain of salt into TBI lately with some things that I've allegedly heard about them. And they've been involved this whole time, and CP calls the lead agent, special agent, by a first name. TBI also had the power to update the public of their safety because there is a public information officer who was assigned to the case. You wouldn't know it because you haven't heard from her since April 2nd either. So who did this all hurt, these decisions? Sebastian, Seth, and the investigation. Who's the common denominator here between the closing of the case and not adding the vehicle they all looked at the first command post that morning and stopping to hold conferences, press conferences? It's all Sumner County, our common denominator. Because why? Something happened 9 months before. Were they coerced allegedly? And you know what? If this goes to trial, I'll say it again. We have the Child Advocacy Center, who I firmly believe has nothing to do with this, right? And they're going to, if this goes to trial, they're going to stand up and protect their reputation. So who's going to go under then? And that's why I think, again, they're biased against Seth because they all have secrets they're all keeping together. Brandon, CP, KP, Eric, Bobby, all of them. Saying things to him like, how do we know you're not the one responsible? They know. Those are emotionally statements. I hope he gets every penny. So they have to be, I hope this becomes a whole big thing. Please subscribe if you haven't and hit the thumbs up. Who had the power to state there's no evidence, not look for evidence, when you have flashlights 3 hours before the child's reported missing in his backyard and a stepfather with a history? Sumner County. They're the ones standing there saying there's no evidence when they knew there were flashlights behind his house for 3 hours before he was reported missing. They knew there was a sedan, and they knew there was a stepfather with a hate for the child, allegedly, who had harmed him before. They had the power to pretend and look the other way, and they have. And that benefited CP, possibly KP, and possibly Sumner County if something went down 9 months before. And that's why it was closed speculatively. And it hurts again, Sebastian, Seth, and the investigation. And once again, who's our common denominator between the team closing it and the investigation and these decisions? Sumner County. No wonder he's so afraid. No wonder he won't talk to the public. No wonder he slouches in his chair and looks like a scared little boy, in my opinion. Because he is scared, guys. This could ruin his entire career. He could go to jail, allegedly. Who had the power to keep Sebastian's status updated to the public? Sumner County and TBI. They didn't. That helps out anyone involved, anyone with foul play, CP with his KP with her inconsistent lies never being looked at, and possibly Sumner County, depending on what happened with that case. Why wouldn't you update the public? Ask for help. If you are so incapable of finding one piece of evidence in 2.5 years, you need the public's help. You know, they don't even watch social media. I mean, it's ludicrous. So once again, who's the common denominator? Sumner County, and they are the ones controlling the investigation, and they are the ones who have made sure it halted. Who had the power to be cruel to Seth Rogers as an effort to deter him? Sumner County and TBI. That was for CP, KP, and Sumner County, in my opinion. Who did it hurt? And anyone else who might be involved, or I'm not saying they're involved, I'm just saying the A part, they're both well aware of it, CP and KP. So if that doesn't get out, it benefits both of them. And possibly Sumner County, depending on how that case got closed 9 months before. And again, who are they hurting? Sebastian, Seth, and the investigation. And again, who's on the team? Who has the power to make the decisions? Common denominator, Sumner County. And in my opinion, this is why they won't investigate. They don't follow tips. They know what happened, in my opinion. They don't want it to be the investigation to lead back to that CPIT decision. They want it to all go away because something ain't right 9 months before. And you've got a child A walking around free. And they are intentionally hiding the fact that a stepfather aid Seth Rogers' son, hiding it from Seth. They've aligned with CP and KP before this even began. And you know what else that means? How many times have we asked ourselves, do you think Eric Craddock and Brandon Carter knew of Sebastian or had met Sebastian? Boom. Yeah. Now we know. Reports of A were coming across Craddock's desk, so he knew of him. One of them was on that Sumner County team. I'm assuming it's one of them. They were aware of him. They were supposed to be making home interviews, so I'm assuming they met him. So yeah, Eric Craddock and Brandon Carter knew of Sebastian prior to February 26th, 2024. Wasn't just a strange child that they didn't know. It was a child where when they approached the house, they knew darn well that they had been there before and that there was an investigation into that home and the stepfather. They walk in and a child's missing. A monkey would have arrested CP, in my opinion. Or at least taken him in for questioning. Here we go again.
All right, Nick Barris here, and I'm with Sumner County Sheriff's Chief Deputy Eric Craddock.
Watch it again.
Talking a bit about an update on the search for Sebastian Rogers. Just, this is the first time we've heard from you in a while, and that's because you guys have been busy investigating.
That's right.
Anything new to report at this stage?
No, sir.
Nothing. 5 weeks.
No, sir.
Just asking, what is being done at this point? What does the public need to know that you continue to do?
We continue to investigate and follow up on every tip or lead that comes in.
Any evidence of foul play?
There was no evidence to support foul play.
But you can't rule it out necessarily. You're ruling nothing out at this point.
That's right. I'm ruling nothing out.
And as far as the public, what you could ask them to continue to do?
Remain vigilant. If they see something, say something. Call 1-800-TBI-FIND or 615-451-3838 with any tips or leads.
Okay, we'll have much more on this story to come.
I just wanted to show that to you guys again, to show you someone who claims he's investigating, but doesn't follow up all the tips that come, doesn't answer the phone, the tip line, ransom requests, doesn't go out and search, doesn't talk to a nurse who had documented evidence that the mother, KP, before Sebastian ever went missing 3 days before on a Friday, reported or canceled his doctor's appointment, which she said was very unusual, not the normal pattern. We know normal patterns are evidence in court. She broke the normal pattern by canceling that appointment and not rescheduling it before he went missing. And the appointment was for after he went missing. But he didn't investigate that. They also called North Carolina to that sighting where we all believe it was Sebastian at that time. They claim they've cleared him. I want to know how. What did you do? I want to know how they cleared him. I want to know how they cleared Green Hoodie. Don't tell us you're investigating. Give us some things. What are you doing? Yes, they need to break up Sumner County. They need to start firing people, putting people behind bars, in my opinion, and redo their entire political system under the eyes of someone who has authority, who can watch them. Yep. By the time Seth got to North Carolina, Brendan didn't go. Craddock didn't go. But Brendan made sure and called before Seth got there and told them not to show him the footage. How dare he? Now, isn't that really interesting that Brandon Carter took this even further with the bias against Seth, allegedly, and wouldn't, after he drove to North Carolina, wouldn't let him see the footage of someone who might have been his son. Why? Because they're biased against Seth. But why? Why wouldn't they want him to see the footage? The only thing I can come up with is because it was Sebastian, in my opinion. And I'm not telling you guys it was, but what else? What could it be? Why wouldn't they want him to see the footage? Unless there's a reason they didn't want him to see the footage. Obviously, they made a phone call. And that is really weird. And that, my friends, is the kind of things they are going to have to explain. Why didn't they want him to see it and be able to identify or not identify his child? Was that the one sighting that might have really been him? I don't know. But you would let a father see the footage to give himself peace of mind that he had checked that one off if it wasn't him. But not these guys. They're cruel to Seth. It's like an emotional game of torture, in my opinion. And hiding something, because there's a reason. They better have a reason they didn't want him to see it. What are they going to say if this goes to trial? Oh, I don't like him. I didn't want him to see it. What else are they going to say? Oh, I don't know. He didn't need to see it, even though he drove there and is the one person who could probably identify if it was Sebastian. And then again, the stepfather within seconds said what? What did the stepfather say? Within moments? It's not him. Such confidence. So where is he? They all know, in my opinion. And it's going to come because no one's giving up. And they didn't expect Seth not to give up. Who had the power to detain CP, consider him a person of interest, but chose not to? Sumner County. Benefiting CP, protecting CP, and possibly Sumner County based on what might have occurred 9 months before. Hurting Sebastian and the investigation. Who's the common denominator? Sumner County has the power to make that decision, and they were on the team with the power to close the CPIT case. So anyway I look at the decisions made, they do not benefit or protect Sebastian or the investigation. And that's the important piece of this. None of it protects or does right by Sebastian, and they should all be ashamed of themselves. The CPIT team closed the case. Who did that benefit? CP. And possibly Sumner County or someone who was convinced to look the other way, allegedly. Who did it hurt? Sebastian. What they were supposed to be doing, by the way, is multidisciplinary staffing, members holding review meetings, staffings to share details, coordinated tasks, and prevent the child from having to recount trauma repeatedly. Did they do that? Will their documentation show this? Will it show details being shared, coordinated tasks, review meetings called staffings? History and records review. The team cross-references past DCS history, external databases, and local law enforcement records for all involved parties. Did they discuss that? Did they discuss that there have been other involvement of DCS in other states and cities? Did they do their due diligence? Well, hopefully they have the documentation to prove it, because I'm telling you, not everyone is dirty. Allegedly, not everyone's corrupt, allegedly, and no one's going to let them take them down. So when you've got a team, that's going to be like the big bomb. How do I say it? The smoking nug is the team. Because you have more than just Sumner County sitting on it. You have a child advocacy center who is not going to allow their reputation to be tarnished if this goes to trial and they didn't do anything wrong and someone else pushed for the decisions. Our common denominator, in my opinion, Sumner County. They were also supposed to get local law enforcement records for all involved parties. Well, are there records of CP and the harm he did to the women in his life, allegedly? And we know what happened. Did they document that? Did they talk about that? Did they talk about his current situation with Nina out in New Mexico? That whole debacle of them trying to chase her down the road, show up at the door, the socks with a bat. Melissa saying, run him over, tossing a baby in a car seat onto a table, just a brand new newborn, hitting a little girl in the mouth with her braces till she bleeds. Did they discuss all of that? I hope so. Because when they go to trial, they're going to have to discuss it. Because Seth's lawyer will know exactly what questions to ask now, won't he? But they did not provide a safe space, even though the 14-year-old at the time told him where one was with his father. And they even took it further and left his father clueless about what happened. So here are the legal consequences of why I keep saying CP is being protected. And I'm sorry this is going so long, you all. I'm wrapping it up. Let me see how much longer we have. I am so sorry. I don't think we have that much longer. Okay. Law enforcement in Tennessee arrests and prosecutes individuals for severely physically A-ing a vulnerable and disabled 14-year-old. That's a fact. Legal consequences for doing this in Tennessee. Aggravated child A. Under Tennessee Code 39-15-402, if severe A results, remember now, they already called it severe A, in serious bodily injury or involves specific aggravating factors, it is charged as a felony. I believe aggravating factors would be a disabled child with autism, a child with ADHD, a child with a chromosomal deletion. Let me look it up for us real quick. Let me just look this up real quick. Yep. Let me share this real quick. Are you guys looking at it? One of the aggravating factors in child A are specific conditions or circumstances that increase the severity of the offense, raise legal penalties, and heighten urgency in child welfare investigations, one of which is tender age children, which is victims who are infants, toddlers, or very young, significantly elevate the severity of the case. Also, special needs or developmental delays, disabilities, medical fragility, or communication barriers make a child more vulnerable. So those are the cases in which there are aggravating factors. And Sebastian falls right into that. So again, CP, for what we know he did, because it's been shared with us. Hold on, let me get us back in here. Sorry, y'all. Gotta get back to you and share the screen. So think about that, right? He would, and then it says vulnerable victims. So this case does fall under aggravated because of Sebastian's challenges, disabilities, diagnoses. Then they also prosecute if they vulnerable victims. When an A child suffers from a physical or mental disability, making them vulnerable, the offense level increases significantly, punishable as a Class A felony, which carries severe prison sentences ranging from 15 to 60 years. That is why I keep saying, who did this decision protect? CP. Because he had a vulnerable victim, aggravated child A, with aggravating factors, a mental disability, a few of them, making him vulnerable. So it would be a Class A felony where little Dirty Foot would do prison sentences ranging from 15 to 60 years. So whoever chose to close that CPIT case after they said Sebastian was in danger, whoever chose to close that from the CPIT team will be answering to this because they protected CP, not Sebastian. They benefited. Who did it benefit? CP. Clearly not Sebastian. He's gone. We don't know where he is. Who is the common denominator in not making an arrest, not prosecuting, not calling a grand jury? First of all, Sumner County Sheriff's Office, because they are supposed to bring the information to the DA's office, Ray Whitley. And then Ray determines whether or not he's going to bring a grand jury in, press charges, etc., the DA. Well, instead, what he chose to do is, when this case kept going on and on and on, after 40 years of being one of the longest running officials in seat, he chose to give less than 2 weeks notice and beat it out of there and appoint someone else, because of course it's Sumner County. They don't allow elections where the people's voice chooses. They just appoint the next good old boy, in my opinion. So in Tennessee, the sheriff's office investigates an allegation. Did you hear that? So as soon as there was an allegation, guess who was investigating it? Sumner County Sheriff's Office. And they submit its reports and evidence to the DA's office. Did they? Did they take it to the DA? He was also on the CPIT team. He knows better. He's responsible too. But the DA holds the legal authority to officially file and prosecute criminal charges. So Sumner County is responsible if they did not get him a report and evidence based on the A, and the DA's office wronged Sebastian when they chose not to file and prosecute criminal charges, but yet that very same DA. So Sebastian's scared and being harmed by CP. This DA chose not to address it, not to protect Sebastian, not to charge CP with anything, not to prosecute. However, when CP, now remember, little man syndrome hurts children, women allegedly, right? But when so Sebastian's scared, is telling people he's scared of his stepfather. His stepfather's going to hurt him. He's safe at his dad's. They ignore all of that. They don't arrest him. And the DA doesn't file and prosecute any criminal charges. But yet, when that Littlefoot, the one who's such a big man to a vulnerable child, who puts his hands on it and demeans him and belittles him, when he has a YouTuber talking about what a POS he is, he says he's scared of her. He's scared she's going to bring a machete. Give me a break. The big bully's crying. Imagine what he'd do behind bars with Big Bubba coming at him, in my opinion. So this decision benefited Chris CP. It protected CP. The power to make that decision, again, 2 people on the CPIT team, Sumner County and the district attorney's office, which Ray Whitley was in charge of at the time. So CP A's and mistreats Sebastian, no arrest. At what expense would someone risk their career? Well, possibly someone would if money were involved. Or a nice big alleged $1 million home was promised if CP allegedly was kept out of prison without charges, allegedly. Because it's a lot of years, a Class A felony, 15 to 60 years. Who do you know that has the money and likes him enough to keep him out of jail? There's not one person who's come forward for him in 2.5 years about what a good guy he is. Even a relative has said he believes him capable of doing this. No one vouches for his character. So who else would it be? Mama Socks, in my opinion. Maybe encourage Danny G to build a home for him, to keep Chrissy Bio, little Chrissy, out of jail. Because you have to use a cup to drink your milk in jail, allegedly, and he's just not used to that. He likes the nipple. Sean Taylor said the housing industry, mortgage fraud, child teen were directly related to Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. And when we look at all of this and the fact that they were trying to rehome him, And Sean Taylor from Millersville Police Chief, I believe, says this is directly related to the disappearance of Sebastian Rogers. So put it all together. A stepfather who's going to get a Class A felony. They drop it. For what reason, we don't know, but I would say follow the money. Just that's norm. Not accusing, just norm. Okay. The child goes missing. There is child teen ring, and the police chief says it's directly related to Sebastian. Things were hidden to protect the stepfather and keep him out of jail. Things were hidden from the real father, Seth Rogers, the only father, the only parent looking for him. Who was promised what to keep CP out of jail, in my opinion? And who likes him enough to help him? We don't know anyone who likes him. No one's come forth. And what does CP say? That's $1 million question, what happened to him. And he says law enforcement knows everything. Well, look at that. Law enforcement has $1 million home. You have another sheriff saying there is this child directly related to the teeing ring, the mortgage fraud, the housing industry, the transnational bribes. And why would he say that? His files were taken, destroyed, his house nugged up, and he was hit head on almost. Rather than helping clear up the town, look what they did. Because that's what they do in Sumner County. They're aware there's a ring. They're aware that it's transnational coming in from China, bribes, money, being paid to officials allegedly and other individuals. It's a child teen ring. Involves the housing industry. Isn't it just all fit? A mortgage fraud. Doesn't it all fit? I mean, that's his stepfamily right there. Directly related to Sebastian. And then the child teeing. You had two parents trying to put him in, get him out of the house. They couldn't handle him, they said. Wasn't quick enough how quick Seth was going to take him. And suddenly he's gone. The school they chose for him is described almost identically to the words that are described of the environment Sebastian was in at home. Did I read that to you guys yet? Let me read that to you. I don't know if I read that to you. There's generational corruption. Department of Homeland Security has said it. Look what TBI and allegedly Sumner County did to Sean Taylor, who was trying to save children. And to his proof. Why? Why wouldn't they want to stop it? Ask yourself that. Follow the money. What was I going to say? I was going to show you guys. There was something I was going to show you guys just now. Maybe I didn't put that in here. I don't remember what I was going to show you, but okay, here we go. I'm wrapping up, my friends. Thank you for sticking in here, the ones who have stuck in here. And for those of you who had to leave, I hope you'll finish watching it later. Hi, Truth's Delight. Hi, Cinderella. Hello, everyone. Okay, no evidence, no foul play is what Eric Craddock, the sheriff of Sumner County, says. Now, for those of you new to the case, and we are going to end with our focus on Sebastian. I'm going to show him right after this slide. We're going to talk about him. And we are going to read the FBI Most Wanted. And if you have any information regarding where Sebastian is, who's responsible for it, or his location, please call 1-800-CALL-FBI. No evidence, no foul play is all that sheriff could say. The one you saw slumping in the chair. Not the strong, confident one you'd want to, be your sheriff, but sloucher. Looks scared like a little mouse, in my opinion. Little Boy Scout. Bit on too much. Time to get out of the heat, buddy, like Whitley did, in my opinion. So anyway, he says no foul play. But yet you have a TBI agent, the first or second day, hosing off his shoes in the mud and saying where he is, he's not coming back from. Now, that shows knowledge. That shows foul play. But yet, we have law enforcement contradicting that statement with no evidence, no foul play. Well, clearly they have evidence that he's not coming back. He's not coming back. So what evidence is it, Mr. TBI agent, Mr. Sumner County? How does he know? Track him down. If you want to reach out to me, I'll tell you exactly which witness told me that. And you can contact her. So where he is, he's not coming back from, shows knowledge of where he is, shows that it's foul play, that he just didn't wander away, and they're all searching for him. But yet they continued to search for 6 more days. Uh-oh, my battery's about to die. Hold on. Let me plug in. They continued to search for 6. Well, how many days did they search? 8? So 6 to 7 more days they continued to search, even though they're saying where he is, he's not coming back from. Were they just doing it for the sake of doing it? A neighbor says the Tuesday after Sebastian's missing, when they do a neighborhood vigil, a motorcycle cop who was at the command post, the one who has the sophisticated camera system, who chose not to turn any of his footage in because he said he didn't have anything except a cat. Yeah, right. Excuse me. Allegedly. He has tears in his eyes at the vigil when he's asked, how's it going? Because they all knew he was at the command post. It's so bad. And he has to leave the vigil. What's so bad? He was watching the video of the 3 a.m. sedan pull up, by the way, and the flashlights. That's what's so bad, in my opinion. Whatever he saw. It scares me to think about. Did they have a hood over his head? You know, you just don't know. It worries me. But yet, Sheriff Craddock says, no foul play, no evidence. Well, there's got to be evidence. If you've got a motorcycle cop saying it's so bad, that shows knowledge of what happened. Yes, I said we're going to do it. Thank you. We're going to be doing it at an unplugged from now on. Is going to be for members. Thank you so much, Minnie. And I'm going to do a couple of them this week. So then you have a stepfather that they investigated, Sumner County did, and deemed dangerous to Sebastian by the DCS. And the sheriff leading the investigation and the lead detective, the sheriff says no foul play, no evidence. You don't think it might be something to consider that he continued to hurt him? Or might somehow be possibly involved with the way he acts, the way he screams, the way he cusses, the way everything involved, his entire behavior, you didn't think was worth looking at? But no, this sheriff says no foul play, no evidence. Standing by their green hoodie, standing by their car at Texas Roadhouse moments before, Sebastian was never seen again. But the sheriff of Sumner County says there's no foul play and no evidence. And they claim to have cleared the person. And the reason they know, now remember, this is such great detective work, a bunch of Boy Scouts. The reason they know it was green hoodie is he was wearing the same sweatshirt. Oh my gosh. I am not kidding you. But they wouldn't tell how they cleared green hoodie. No foul play. Person looming near their car that the mother interacted with and has given numerous stories as to who was standing there. I had a stalker. Really? You have a stalker and you're just going to walk right up to him and exchange something? BS. But no foul play, according to Eric Craddock. Is he going to have some answering to do? I believe so. This needs to go to trial. Hi, MCE. MCE says, yeah, but didn't the dates not match for green hoodie? What dates, my friend? I'm not sure what you mean. We know that they came right in as soon as it was put on the internet saying they've cleared green hoodie, located and cleared green hoodie, but they wouldn't tell how they cleared it. I've heard a rumor it was a FaceTime, but they wouldn't show it to Seth, but I cannot promise you that that's accurate. You'll have to ask Seth. Yep. Then you have flashlights behind the house where a young man was reported missing 3 hours later and never seen again. But yet the sheriff wants the public to believe that was the trash trucks four-wheeling in the backyard, that he has no foul play. So flashlights in the backyard and the child's never seen again, but the sheriff says no foul play and no evidence. Do you think he's going to lose his badge if this is investigated? The date for speaking to Green Hoodie and the report date were different. Oh, okay, MCE. I didn't know that. Interesting. Of course, they probably, in my speculative opinion, wrote the report weeks later when they were being called out by at night. 3 a.m. sedan shows up behind the house. The two people with flashlights get out. A flashlight's coming from the home. The mother's bedroom light's on. There's two people with flashlights by the shed in the motorcycle cop's yard, standing right near the Stafford courthouse for the Proudfoots. But this sheriff says there's nothing to show foul play, and there is no evidence. So I think, my friends, that we have someone who's probably, I know CP's probably hiding, scared. I'm sure Eric Craddock right now is trying to figure out how to best represent the decisions that were made. Yeah, I heard that too, that supposedly Green Hoodie passed away. I don't buy it unless Green Hoodie's life was taken by somebody else who didn't want that link to go to them. Yeah, very suspicious, right, Mini Panthers? Yeah, if Green Hoodie passed away within a short time of that, my guess will be someone took Green Hoodie out of the picture because Green Hoodie had been identified, by being there, and they didn't want any connection to them. So what do? Boom. Just a thought. Who canceled Sebastian's doctor's appointment prior to the disappearance? KP, which could show premeditation and prior planning, or same thing, prior planning. But they chose not to investigate it. And he has the audacity to say there's no foul play. He's not investigating. He didn't investigate it. But he still says no foul play. Didn't go talk to the nurse. The nurse says it's very unusual, concerning, because he doesn't miss his appointment. She didn't give a reason, and she didn't reschedule. She called before he went missing, and the appointment was for after he went missing. But the Boy Scouts can't find any evidence of foul play. A dangerous stepfather, no evidence of foul play. We went through all of those already. And that is the only thing that shows premeditation so far and a plan. I know we talk about the poker party and some other things, but this is one now that is documented and shows possible premeditation and a plan. And Sumner County Sheriff's Office failed to thoroughly investigate that lead when Seth gave it to him. But yet they'll tell their little fibs and say they're investigating and following every lead that comes in. That is not true. And I think probably 75% of this audience who's in this chat right now has sent in a lead or a tip, and they've never responded to you or answered you. Who benefits from ignoring the fact that she canceled the doctor's appointment? Oh, KP. So that tells me KP had some knowledge. And that would be foul play and some evidence there. Evidence of possible knowledge of what was about to happen. KP was protected, KP benefited, and Sumner County had the power not to investigate. Who's our common denominator again? The CPIT team, and Sumner County's on it, and they're the ones who chose not to investigate this lead that shows KP was very likely aware of a plan that would be taking place that would not make it possible for Sebastian to be at his doctor's appointment against their normal patterns of behavior. So boom, we're going to end here. The answers This answers two of the questions we have been asking ourselves over and over for 2.5 years. Did Eric Craddock or Brandon Carter know Sebastian or know of him before he went missing? The answer is yes, because of the A from the stepfather and the CPIT team. And they are the ones who have to investigate when a complaint comes across Craddock's paper pushing desk, in my opinion. Did EC or BC know of CP and KP or had met them prior to? Yes, that shows us they knew darn well who CP was. And therefore, they knew darn well who KP was because she was present. She had to be interviewed, remember, by the team. They had to do stop and drop in visits, so they would have met KP. And KP is well aware of what was going on with DCS records. Who was being protected? Why didn't they ever say in the beginning when they were actually talking? Why didn't they ever say, you know, we had the opportunity to meet him, or we knew a little bit about Sebastian, he's a neat kid. We have a person of interest who has a history of harming him. We are looking into it, but let's keep all options open. But no, he has not spoken. And the sheriff has not spoken since April 2nd of 2024, 875 days ago. Sebastian was reported missing 911 days ago. So he only interacted with talking for 36 days after Sebastian went missing. And let's remind you that on April 2nd, when Nick Barris does the interview with him and he does the press conference, Nick says, "We haven't seen you in a while. You must have been busy investigating." So it's been longer even than 875 days since he said his name, done a press conference, showed his picture, updated the public. Yes, Paige, I bet. I don't know, Paige. I think she's probably very grateful she met him because she has a new lifestyle. They travel. Remember the day he was missing, they were all talking about where they wanted to go in the Caribbean. Seth was dumbfounded. And they were talking about what jewelry, Kathy B was talking about what jewelry she wants. And Katie chimes in, the mother whose son just is missing, and says she wants a bigger ring. I mean, this is just unbelievable. So anyway, my friends, this young man, I just want to share his flyer before we go. And we are out the door then. Let's just make sure we share his flyer real quick. It's important. I have it somewhere. Here we go. Come on. Okay. This is Sebastian Rogers, whom we have been talking about. Look at how handsome he is. Very, very bright young man. He was originally portrayed by his stepfather and mother as someone in a 15-year-old body, but mentally probably around 8-ish. Cinderella says they act like they sold him, allegedly. Yeah, I mean, with that child teen ring right there in town, the other chief of police saying Sebastian's involved. It involves the money laundering, the housing industry, child teen, bribes from overseas. I agree with you, Cinderella. It does seem like he was caught up and sold in that teen ring because they didn't want him around anymore. And you know what? If he had gone to Seth's and CP had his daughter there, every other weekend, Sebastian would come for a visit, and CP despised him and didn't want him there, in my opinion. So this is Sebastian, February 26th, was reported missing. Many things have been omitted. Many things have been added. Many things have been changed about him. The reason here that they say Sebastian was last seen on February 25th in the area of Stafford Court in Hendersonville, Tennessee, I believe is because CP and KP did not want their address released, even though that would be where you would look for a missing child is from where they left. They didn't want people to have that information. So I think that's why it said in the area of Stafford Court, because as usual, who's being protected? CP and KP protecting themselves. He was wearing a black sweatshirt, sweatpants, black square frame glasses. He has medical conditions, including autism, that may impair his ability to return safely without assistance. Sebastian could look like so differently right now. We're 2.5 years down the road. He could have dreadlocks. He could have dyed hair. He could wear contacts. He could have a beard. We just don't know. If you happen to know anything, please call 1-800-CALL-FBI. I hope Seth Rogers' lawsuit to both DCS and Sumner County breaks open this case. Things explode, heads roll, justifications need to be answered. A certain A goes to jail for that 15 to 60 years, and whoever is responsible for the actual disappearance is held accountable. When you do not search, it's because you know where it is. Right, KP? CP, keep looking through those blinds. Look over your shoulder. Listen for the sirens. Tick-tock. They're coming. Y'all, thank you so much for being here, for your kindness, for spending the evening with me. And I will see you all tomorrow. Please give this a like and a thumbs up on your way out so we can get this out there. The breakdown kind of makes sense for people to follow of the decision making. Who had the power? Who did it benefit? Who did it protect? And who's the common denominator that could be involved? And who does it hit on most? Sumner County and CP. CP is the one who's mainly being protected. Sumner County is the one who's making those decisions, mainly, in my opinion. Thank you so much for being here. Be safe. Please take care of yourselves. Love yourself, your loved ones, and we will talk soon. Justice for Sebastian Rogers. Please hit the thumbs up, the subscribe, the like, the hype on your way out. Bless you, love you all, and so proud to have you in this community. Thank you for spending the evening with me. Love you back, Lisa. Talk soon, my friends. Justice for Sebastian Rogers. May Seth's lawsuit bring the answers he needs to find his son. Amen. Good night, you guys. Talk soon.